What's going on YouTube? This is Hero Stormwolf and welcome back to another Skyrim mods video. This time we're going to be taking a look at a couple of magic based mods based off the elements of water and wind. I will be starting off with the wind mod, which is titled Wind Destruction Magic. When you install the mod, you will get a list of 8 new wind based spells: Cyclone, Gust, Tempest, Tornado, Wall of Wind, Whirlwind, Whirlwind Cloak, and Wind Rune. Starting off with the master level spell Cyclone. What this does, it does 75 points of wind damage to anyone that it hits. Targets that are hit with the spell have a chance of being blown away. As you can see, summons a huge tornado. Doesn't last very long. Nice little effect though. I would say this doesn't really classify as a master level spell. It does a lot of damage, sure, but it's not as powerful looking or lasting as some of the more master level spells. But regardless, nice effect. Moving on from that, we're going to Gust. This is your standard level 1 novice spell. Shoots out a gust of wind that does 8 points of damage. Again, nice effect. And like all wind-based spells, this actually does does extra damage to health. Moving on from that, we have Tempest. Does a burst of wind. Does 60 points of damage on hit. Nice effect. Actually travels very far, as you can see. Very cool looking. Moving on from that, we have the Tornado. This is like a miniature master level spell. Summons a small tornado here. Does 40 points of damage. Nice looking. From there, we're moving on to Wall of Wind. This does 50 points of damage and lingers for about 30 seconds. Nice little effect. Can be used as all wall spells. Nice little defensive here. A nice but subtle effect. From there, moving on to Whirlwind. Does 25 points of damage. Sort of the same as Tempest, but a little bit weaker since it is a apprentice level spell next to the expert level. Whirlwind Cloak. This is your standard cloak spell. Does does 8 points of damage whenever enemies are close to you. Has a nice effect to it. Lasts for 60 seconds. And finally we have the Wind Rune, which like all runes you place on the ground. And you'll see a magical rune. We'll place it in a more open area so you can see it. There you go. And for this we'll actually summon a bandit to give you a bit more visual effect on it. As you can see, works like all runes. Steps on it, does damage. And there you have it. That is all for the wind destruction based magic. Next up, we'll be taking a look at another element. Water comes from the same author. Next up, we're going to be taking a look at the same type of spell, this time with the element of water. Here we have Rapids, Water Rune, Water Ball, Geyser, Water Cloak, Torrent, Wall of Water, Tidal Wave. Starting off with the novice level spells, this is Rapids. It's your standard novice spell. Shoots off a stream of water, doing about 8 points of damage per second. Nice effect, looks really cool. Moving on from that, we have the Water Rune, which is more like the Wind and Fire runes you see. Place down a rune. Summon off a bandit here. And as you can see, it gives off a cool effect. Thank you. Cool thing about water spells is that they do extra damage to magicka and stamina as well as health, so this is really good for fighting pretty much all types of spellcasters and melee fighters. But moving on from that, Water Ball, the next apprentice level spell, shoots off an orb of water that does 25 points of damage. Again, nice effects here. Really cool. Shoots very far, as you expect. From there, we're moving on to Geyser. An explosion of water that does 40 points of damage to health and reduces magic and stamina. As you can see, it has the effect of the Water Ball and the Wind Rune itself. Very cool looking effect, very cool looking spell. Moving on from there, we have Water Cloak. More or less the same as the Wind Cloak, except it does magicka and stamina damage. Nice effect here as well. From there, we will move on to the Torrent, the expert level spell. A burst of water does 60 points of damage. So a bigger version of the Water Ball spell. Has the same visual effect, only slightly larger, and does more damage. From there, we're moving on to the next expert level, Wall of Water. Same effect as the Wall of Wind. Sets up a defensive water barrier, which will drain health, magicka, and stamina. And finally, we have the Tidal Wave, the master level spell. This does 90 points of water damage and reduces health and magic stamina by 30% for 10 seconds. There you go. More of a nice, cool looking visual effect. So that about does it for these two mods, made by the same author. As always, I will leave them down in the description below. All these spells, when installed, can be found either on the field or can be bought from vendors that sell magic tomes. As always, if you do enjoy the mods, leave your endorsements, likes, and stuff like that on the pages themselves. And I will catch you guys in the next Skyrim video. Later.